welcome back to What You Don't See. Today we have a very special guest and a very special topic. We're going to be talking about life insurance and the importance of life insurance and just different kinds of insurance in general. So we have StateFarm Agent Christina Lopez here with us today. How long have you been with State Farm?
So I'll be an agent now for 13 years in January.
13 years.
14 if you count a year in training.
Wow. Yeah. And when did you start your own agency?
That was in January 2012, so 13 years.
Oh,
January.
so you just went straight into, is that how it works, right? You just become an agent? Did you ever work for an agency before?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was actually what you're called external, so I was actually in education for 10 years prior to going and opening my own business.
Like you were a teacher?
I taught for a bit, and then I went into administration.
Oh, cool. What made you want to jump into insurance?
My undergrad was actually in business, and so I wanted to do something in sales. I actually had worked for an insurance agent while I was in college. I got to get a little bit of knowledge on it, and so it was just kind of a good fit.
Cool. So then you have a lot of knowledge about everything insurance, right?
A lot of, yes, a lot of knowledge.
I feel like a lot of people don't know about insurance.
No, I need to be educated.
Yeah.
And I'm 49.
The benefits of life insurance, what it can do for your family. I feel like these are like personal financial goals that everybody should have. So tell us why somebody should get life insurance.
So one of the things that I think a lot of people either just don't think about or don't want to think about is life insurance, right? Because life insurance is associated with death.
Right.
And so I think most people are just not educated.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when something does happen, your family are the ones that suffer basically.
Financially, yeah.
Right. And so it's kind of like digging into the questions as to what happens to the family if something does happen to you. And that's really important to plan for that future.
So, Christina, I have some sort of insurance with my previous provider. Can I get
Provider? Your employer?
provider?
You don't have a provider, you're too young.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. I'm an employer. But I would like a provider, too. Just if anybody wants to sign up.
I already agreed to be your
Yes,
provider.
she's going to be my provider. There's a paper 7 years ago. she said she would be. Okay, so my employer has insurance for me, right?
Yeah.
Can I get another insurance for myself?
Yes. In fact, that's a great question because I think a lot of people have the misconception that if they have life insurance with their employer, that they don't need anything else. And the problem is a lot of times, most times when you have insurance through your job, it's a term policy, it's a group policy, so it's typically pretty cheap. But when you leave your job, you're pretty much going to leave that behind.
And so it's only during their employment.
Typically. And they may tell you, but you can take it with you. The problem though with that is when you're with an employer, you're typically paying a price as a group. Okay, so your price is really cheap. So if you are able to take that policy with you, you're now going to be paying for just yourself. The group is no longer, how do I say it? They're taking a group of people and they're doing a cost.
Like a bundle?
Almost like a bundle,
Yeah.
I guess. And now you're taking that and it's all just about you, so that the individual price becomes much higher.
Gotcha.
I also recommend you getting something outside of work because let's just say you do leave your job, but you leave at retirement. Well, typically you retire anywhere between 60, 65. Now you've got to purchase life insurance at that age. And if I gave you a quote right now at your age being maybe 30, 35, 40, 45, and then you compare that to somebody who's in their 60s, the price is just way different.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So you can have, to answer your question, yes, you can have multiple life insurance policies. And in fact, I recommend that for a lot of people because you have different needs and you have different needs at different times. So for example, one of the questions I'll ask is the policy that you have with your previous employer, not provider, what do you know what that is?
I don't.
Okay, and that's always
That's always the
a
case.
spot.
Is I feel like people are like, I think I
don't.
have it. I don't know what it is. I don't know how much it's for. I don't know if it's for how long and that's another thing that has always confused me because I have life insurance. I got it myself, and when people are like, well, what is it? Is it term or life? I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know these things.
Exactly.
All I know is that they told me this is the best option for you, and I believed them, and that's it. So
Right.
what is term and like whole life, and what are the best options?
So term is temporary. That's how I break it down. Term is temporary, meaning the benefit is you can get a lot of insurance for a cheap price. So for example, somebody who has maybe a mortgage they want to cover. So if something happened to, let's say you're a husband and wife, and they say, you know what, if one of us passes away, we want the house to be able to be paid off, right? I don't want my spouse to have to sell the house, or so. The question may be, okay, well, how much is your mortgage? Well, $250. Okay, we can get you a term policy for $250. That's going to cost $50. Just kind of throwing out numbers. So the benefit is a large amount of coverage, right? So $250,000, for example, making these numbers up for maybe about $50. Now, if you say, well, I want it to be permanent. So what does permanent mean? Well, permanent means you're going to keep that for life. Another benefit of permanent is it grows cash. So as you're making your payment, cash accumulates kind of like in a separate account. And every company is a little different, but with that cash accumulation, typically dividends are paid. So the cash growth sometimes is even better than, most times is better than having in a savings account. But the price difference may be, okay, I'm going to give you $250 permanent, but that's going to cost you maybe $300 a month. And some people may say, well, I can't afford $300 a month, so let me just do the term. So the term is cheaper for more coverage. The benefit of the permanent is you're able to grow cash as well as borrow from that cash. If so, you know, I have a customer, actually, I'll give you an example, who opened a business many years ago, and he told me, he said, I opened my business from my life insurance policy. His brother,
I've heard of people doing that.
yeah, so his brother had purchased a life insurance policy for him years before. A lot of cash had accumulated. He had a business opportunity come up to purchase a business, and he took that cash accumulation and was able to open his business.
Oh, okay. And what type of insurance is that?
So that's permanent.
Permanent insurance.
Permanent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more expensive, but
It's-
in the long run, you can even accumulate cash.
Correct. It's a little bit more expensive.
Look who's here.
Hi.
Look, Sarah,
We're
matching. I feel like Sarah's the kind of person who knows this stuff.
What stuff?
Like life insurance.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Very important.
Like I feel
From all of
like
us,
you
this
have
is
your
the
shit
one.
together.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like,
I have 3 policies on myself.
Yeah.
And I have
Oh, so you
2.
could get-
I have 3 for my husband. We have the ones that accrue interest.
Yeah, that's
That
permanent.
accrue income.
We were just talking about
Those are
that.
very, very important. And I just
Okay.
got one that's a bigger policy for my kids because,
That's
Oh
another
my
great
God.
point, is you can get them for kids. And when people say, well, I don't want to put life insurance on my kids, I don't want them to die. This isn't about, we're not looking at it from death perspective.
no.
We're looking at
it's
about
cash value.
cash value, and then
Yeah.
you've got to remember your health. Like
Yeah.
normally kids are super healthy.
Yeah.
And so let's say, for example, like my children, I have life insurance for all of them. And the ones I have for them, they're called like 10 pays. So I pay it off in 10 years. I own it. I never make a payment again, but the cash continues to grow. So let's just say, for example, 20 years from now, they have kids and they just, for whatever reason, didn't buy more life insurance. And then they have a health issue and they now cannot buy more life insurance. At least I have something in place for them,
Yeah.
you know, from when they were young.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, for your kids, because of the cash accumulation,
And then you can always borrow on your life insurance policies and it doesn't count against your credit. So like if I get into a bind on business or whatever, I'll take out a $50,000 for my life insurance and then I'll just pay it back.
Yeah.
And you pay it back on your own time, you know, however you want to.
With no interest.
I wonder if I have the right policy for me.
And I always-
I don't know.
yeah, and I recommend like going and seeing what you have,
Uh-huh.
and then like let me sit and look at it. And if it's a good
Yeah.
policy, I'll tell you, look, this is good, you
Yeah.
know. But then there are also life changes that happen. So for example, maybe you bought that. I'm assuming you bought that before you were married.
No.
Maybe? It was after
I bought
marriage.
it like 2 years. I don't know.
Okay.
I think maybe
You
right
may-
before. I think maybe right before I was married. Yeah.
So let's say you bought it when you got married, right?
Okay.
And then you decide to have a child. Well, now you have a life change. Something has changed. Now it's like, okay, well maybe I have a life policy for $500,000, but if something happens to me or to your husband, for example, you want to be able to have enough money to raise your child and not be worried about finances. And a lot of people, if they were to lose one income, and I'm not saying that's in your case, but most people, if
Right.
you lose an income, that's a big deal.
It is, yeah.
And so, I have customers who have 3 kids and no life insurance. And I'm like, okay, we need to get something for you and your husband because, and they're like, well, my husband's the only one that works. That's okay too, because even though maybe the husband's the only person working, and so she, quote unquote, doesn't bring in an income, well, what happens if the woman dies? Well, he's going to have to find somebody to take care of the
Take
kids.
care of the kids.
And that's going to be a financial impact.
Well, you also have a business, right? And so what's going to happen to your business if you die in an accident?
Yeah.
So one of the life insurances that I have, it goes half and half to my business, and then the other half goes to my family. So that's why I have 3 different policies. That way the business can maintain for at least 6 months. They can figure out what to
Yes.
do, since if I'm not there anymore.
I like that.
And then we have one for the trust. So I have a life insurance on the trust that also accumulates. So it's
When did you start doing all this? What age?
my parents started doing it when I was like 15.
Oh, wow.
See, and that's not the norm. I mean, you're in an
not the
awesome
norm.
position. Yeah. But what she brings up a very valid point is, as business owners, that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about life insurance as a mom and dad, but then if you're a business owner, you have to have something else in place, and there's different needs. So
Yeah, and you can put 2 beneficiaries on your
Yeah.
policy.
So what's the amount that you get? Like, what is the?
So that's all very dependent on you and what your need is, right?
Some of them
So-
also based on your income.
On your income?
Yeah. So
And then they do, like, they did my blood, like, they tested
Oh, yeah, they do everything.
Yeah, to
So
get,
yeah,
like,
is
the
there a
best
process
price. I was like, I'm
for all
healthy.
of this?
normally,
And if you're an at-risk person,
Yeah.
right?
no,
Like, do you do
yeah.
crazy things? Do you do skydiving? Do you
Oh,
do like
Oh, I
all
remember
these?
that movie.
Yeah.
I actually went skydiving,
Oh,
but I had the life insurance
no,
in place
I don't do
already.
that stuff. I will not do that stuff.
I want to do
kayaking, I
skydiving.
can't swim.
I did not want to do it. I did
I've
it
been
'cause of
wanting
my
to go to
kids.
the air balloons, and my dad's
just
like,
did
"Are
that
you
too."
crazy?"
Oh, I did that
He's like, "I think I need to get life insurance before."
I want to do the air balloons.
Yeah,
It's
you
actually
can-
super. It
Where
feels
did you
really.
go?
Yeah, we just got back from Wyoming in Jackson
Oh,
Hole.
I saw
wow.
your picture.
We just did it, and
How
actually it was much calmer than I expected. It's a very slow ride.
It's not scary.
No.
I want to do it in Mexico City.
Yeah.
I did that one over
yeah.
the pyramids.
You did it?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Back to blood work.
Back to blood work.
So what's the process? Is there a specific
So-
process that you have to go through?
And for adults, for example, there are going to be a list of questions we ask, and then typically there's a physical that's completed. With our company in particular, it's free, so they'll come to your house, they'll do your blood work, they'll send it off. The good thing is you get to kind of see, you get a free physical, really. It's all confidential. I don't see any of those results. If you're really, really healthy, for example, you can get actually a cheaper price. If you have some type of medical issues, you may have to pay a little bit more. So
it's better to get it when you're
It's
young.
better to get it now.
Get it when you're young.
Better to get it now.
Instead of in your 40s or 50s.
Correct.
The
when you're
best
like,
day to get life insurance is
Today.
So
Like
I'm a
today,
little late.
yesterday.
Yes.
But,
So
but right now, I just came out good from everything, so I should go.
Yeah, you
before
should.
something.
You're very healthy.
and for
Yes.
children, there typically is not blood work involved.
Yeah.
But it's the adults. It's adults.
Okay.
So that's kind of the process. We ask you questions. You do the physical. The life insurance is issued.
And then you decide who the beneficiary will be, right?
You decide, and then you can always change that.
Okay.
It's not set in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can change it out. Because when I got divorced, I was like, I'm never putting a man on my life insurance, right? So then I would put my kids, and I was like, well, poor Marty, So I got one policy for
Marty's a good
him.
man.
But you know what? You bring up a good point about kids, though, because you have to remember that if you leave your kids as beneficiaries, they can't access the funds until they're 18. So if you are wanting them to have the money as they're growing, you would want to put somebody in charge of it for
trustee.
them, like a trustee in charge of it
Okay.
for them. Yeah. So many things that are intricacies to it.
a lot of things that I think in our culture we avoid a lot because we're just like always living in the moment. We don't like to think about death, you know what I mean? And it's like we need to plan for our families, Like it's super personal finance is so important.
Well, there's a mentality in the Valley as well. when I had insurance, I had somebody come in and offer it to all of my employees. And one of my employees said, well, he's no longer an employee of mine, but he said, I'm not going to buy insurance. I'm not going to buy life insurance on me. If I die, her and the Sancho are going to enjoy
That's
it.
a very common
Why
comment.
would I leave money for her to be with some other man?
Oh wow, I've heard this before.
And I was like,
That's horrible.
Your kids. Why would you
That's
want her
a
to hook up with a man,
horrible
any man,
mindset.
to just be able to support her life because she doesn't work?
Yeah.
How is she going to get supported? And she brings in some trash that abuses your children because you're dumb enough not to leave her life insurance.
That's horrible.
Right? And they had just bought a house. And I was like,
It's terrible.
So far, I've learned life insurance equals peace of mind. Like you, God forbid, any accident might happen. You never know. Like tomorrow is never assured. So bless you.
Sorry.
So yeah, I'm definitely gonna check. I'm gonna contact you after this.
for sure. You said something and I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
I was gonna say no.
sneezed.
What I was gonna say is it's awesome that we're having this conversation, but you guys are at a place where you want to have the conversation. And I remember I had just had my kids, and I remember I was not in insurance at the time, and my insurance agent called me in and was like, "Look, you just had kids. Let's talk about your life insurance." And I literally said like, "Oh, I have it at work. I'm fine."
Yeah.
I did not understand until I became an insurance agent. Okay, what does it really look like financially for my children based on this one policy I have?
Yeah.
And I definitely didn't have enough.
because the norm policies are about 100, 150.
Yeah.
And those are like the ones that you get from work and that
Right.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even cover a house.
Right.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
What does that cover mostly?
About 150,
Oh, okay, that's it.
about 100,000, 150.
Well, in other words, take your income, whatever you and your spouse or just by yourself, whatever you bring in a year, right? And let's say you have to leave that for your children. How many years would it take before it runs out?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so with 100,000, it may be 1 year.
Yeah,
maybe
1
two-
year.
Yeah.
Well, you also need to think about insurance policies because, like, we had recently somebody that passed away. He was a technician and he died in a car accident on his, when he was at his home, and his family, they didn't have any cemeteries, any of that stuff, but they had a life insurance policy that we had gotten for him.
Oh, wow.
So he had 2 kids that he left behind, and he was the caretaker of his kids. His wife didn't take care of them, or his ex-wife didn't take care of them. So he was able to use his policy as a down payment, right? And
For his
burial and stuff like that. So they take your life insurance policy until they can cash it out and turn around and use that so that you can bury him.
Yes.
Because you're talking about $10,000-$12,000
For a
on a burial.
Yeah.
So that life insurance policy also helps you if you don't have burial things in
For
place.
Yeah.
They're so important.
And so, like, one of the questions to think about is, okay, if you passed away today, what does that look like for your family?
Yeah.
They're walking to the funeral home. What is the conversation? Is it, sorry, we don't have any money to bury my loved one? Is it, okay, we got to sell the house because we don't have enough money to keep the mortgage? You see people all the time selling chicken plates.
Yeah.
Asking
GoFundMe.
Yeah.
Help us raise for the funeral.
Right. It's so tough.
I don't think I would like to leave. I wouldn't want anyone to leave a family that way because, like you said, all the responsibilities, all the mortgage payment, all the bills, and especially if you're a woman that doesn't work and you're like you're in charge of your household, but your husband brings in the money, and then God forbid something's happened to your husband. Like, what are you gonna do?
And we're talking about just finances right now. Then you're not even thinking about the emotional toll.
Yes, because you're grieving and
You're
then you're
grieving.
having to sell
You
chicken
don't have
plates.
the energy to do all that.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Who's
Where do you have the energy?
Who's gonna do chicken plates when they're grieving? Like, I wouldn't do chicken plates.
Well, usually the
If you have
friends
to,
are like,
yeah.
we're gonna sell chicken plates for this
But
family.
you're gonna have to be there. You know what I mean? Like, that's just more emotional.
Yeah, no, it's
that's
not.
tough.
It's not an ideal situation at all. And I know people are like, well, I don't want to spend the money per month or whatever for
I've
life
seen
insurance.
here and there on TV that there's apps that just came out that it's like affordable life insurance for anybody to get. I'm not sure what it is, but I've seen it now. It's a little bit more popular out there, or at least maybe now because I'm at this age. Like you say, now I'm aware of it, so now I'm paying attention to those commercials.
Exactly.
You know,
it's like when you buy a red car and all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere.
Yes. Exactly. So
but that is a good point. There are I do see a lot of commercials and advertisements for life insurance, and I'm not saying to not go with those.
Yeah.
The benefit of being with somebody you know or local is you can have like a one-on-one conversation. I have had customers come in who have life insurance policies at other places, and they're like, I can't get a hold of anybody. And so that's the only concern I have with some of these companies that are just maybe like online or through the phone. But definitely you can buy, but if you are buying affordable, quote unquote, life insurance, it's probably a term.
Yeah.
Just to like, I don't know what I have.
Right.
You know, I ask the question sometimes like, well, how much are you paying? Well, I'm paying $20. Okay, I'm telling you have a term. You don't have a permanent. You don't have a permanent.
And some of the life insurance policies that you buy, you can turn them into a permanent after a year or two. You just have to be in the policy for a while. So you can turn it into a term.
Yeah, so like one of the benefits with our company in particular is if you have a term, let's just say you're at a place in your life where you're like, look, I don't want to spend that much, but I need it, right? Well, great. Well, with us, you're guaranteed convertible. So once you have the policy, even if you have an illness later in life, we have to convert it to permanent if that's what you want to do. So it's a good plus of the company in particular that I work for. And you'd have to kind of ask those questions of different companies, like what are the benefits of getting it with you now? Can I convert it later?
Right. You
What
always
does that
want to
look
ask
like?
if you can convert and what it would look like for you.
So I would always ask questions of whichever company you're talking with. Yeah.
Learned so much. I already want to sign up.
You did ask one question about something in particular, which is like long-term care, which is something separate.
Yeah.
But something like I know we have, and probably other companies may as well, is a life policy that you can actually have a rider on there that if you became ill and needed to be in a nursing home and you no longer could care for yourself, one of the other attributes of that one is you can actually use that death benefit up while you're alive to be taken care of at home, or if you're in a nursing facility, so people don't have to pay that out
And
of
that
pocket.
is so important because I just went through it I'm going through it with my parents. Well, with my parents, I went through it with my dad that he had no insurance. So if I would have gotten something like this for him,
Yes.
I would have been in a better place
Right.
with him.
Yeah.
Yes, I wouldn't have been so stressed out. And we had nothing.
Yeah.
So that's something that I want to look for myself because I don't want my kids to have to worry about where they're going to put me or if they have any money to
Take care of you.
take care of me.
Exactly.
And I want a decent place.
You're like, I want to live a luxurious life.
Yes, I want.
Yeah, you don't want to be in, suffering and
Yes.
not being taken care of. And at least you'll have peace of mind. Okay, in my later years, I know that I'll have these accommodations set out for me.
Yes, where they're gonna make me a board member on, and I want to be the event planner at the nursing home.
I can see you.
Goals. No, I can see myself already.
Yeah. That's okay, cool. So that's something for a lot of people to think about.
Right.
So is it something that the kids should get for the parent or the parent
Can
should
the
get it
kids
for
get it for
themselves?
the
You
parents?
know, when I talk to parents who are older and they're like, I can't afford it, I'm like, tell your adult children to pay for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, either or. I think it depends on everybody's financial position.
Yeah.
I know I have that from my parents. It's something I wanted
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's up to the person.
My mom had gotten one on my grandma.
Okay.
It was a small one. It was like 30,000. I think we paid like that amount for the stupid policy, right? But when she passed away, my mom had already been in a wheelchair and all this other stuff, right? We took that money when she passed away. We took that money and we bought my mom a handicapped van. So that she could just be rolled in and she wouldn't have to be transferred and all that other
Right.
stuff. So we were able to do that for them at that time.
Oh,
Nice.
They used it to something productive for my
Right.
parents.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
you shared a wealth of knowledge with us. Where can the viewers find you? Like social media, where's your office, all of that?
So I'm 3611 North Ware Road, which is kind of you go Nolana and Ware. That's where my office is. Social media, I am under RG Fee Insurance Agent. My office number is 956-994-0007.
And if they're not local, they can still reach out to you, right?
Yeah, I can
Okay.
sell for anyone in Texas.
Anyone in Texas. reach out to Christina. Clearly, she knows her stuff.
And she'll answer her phone.
Very patient. Thank you for explaining all of this to us.
Yes.
But it's like so important. Like Ingrid said, today is the day to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Today is the best day to buy life insurance. So just give her a call, like pick her brain. So
For sure.
Have
yeah.
the hard talk at home.
Yeah.
That too.
And I will be buying my life insurance.
Yes.
Yay.
So I'll let you know.
Yay. Okay, well, thank you
Good
for
help.
joining
Yeah,
us.
thank you.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.